Become a patron at www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm for hard to find books, scans of rare photos, and articles on the Golden Era of bodybuilding. Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here. Today I'd like to continue with the series on Bruce Lee the Dragon, with a focus today on his forearm training. Bruce Lee was an absolute fanatic when it came to training the forearms, and therefore his knowledge that he acquired for forearm training is definitely well worth sharing. His wife actually recalls how if a new forearm course came out in the muscle mags, Bruce Lee would just literally run out the door and immediately buy it. So much was his devotion to training the forearms, his fanaticism. Even actor and martial artist Bob Wall, who actually starred with Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon, recalls Lee's devotion to forearm training and how his forearms, they were so huge that they were out of proportion with his upper arms, and you'll see photos later on. So let's have a look at Bruce Lee's methods for training and developing forearms. One of the most important things to address first is to understand why Bruce Lee was so devoted to training his forearms. Well, as any martial artist will tell you, in order to grip someone during grappling or to punch harder, you need to develop your forearms. It's as simple as that. This is why Bruce Lee was so devoted to his training. I mean, his training for forearms was every single day. He was absolutely obsessed. He was an absolute fanatic when it came to forearm training. Even Bruce Lee designed his own inventions, his own custom-made forearm equipment, and had it sent to one of his friends, George Lee, to actually make this equipment for him, because he couldn't find equipment that was suitable enough to satisfy his fanaticism. And I'll show you some of the equipment that he had himself made later on. He even had aspirations of being a wrist wrestling champion, challenging anyone that he could and beating everybody that he actually met. So he was really, really strong with his grip and his forearms. And I mean, you can really see how massive his forearms are. Bob Wall says it perfectly in an interview that he says, Bruce Lee's devotion to forearm training certainly paid great dividends in terms of his power and muscularity. He says, quote, "Bruce had the biggest forearms proportionate to anybody's body that I've ever seen." I mean, look at the size of those forearms when you compare them to the biceps. They are massive. They are absolutely massive when they are flexed, of course. And you can see the thickness of those tendons, and I mean, it's just, it's beautiful, beautiful forearm development from Bruce Lee. And Bob Wall goes on to say, I mean, his forearms were huge. He had incredibly powerful wrists and fingers. His arms were just extraordinary. And weren't they? Weren't they? Absolutely they were. So here are some of the apparatuses that Bruce Lee actually had himself made and that he would actually train with, including the Bruce Lee gripping machine, which is now actually available on ironmind.com, as well as Siladokov at MrStronghands.com for Europeans. He actually invented this machine, and he should have patented it, because it allows you to basically plate load the machine and work on your strength in your hands. It's a pretty amazing machine. Another thing he used was the leverage bar, which is kind of basically just like loading a dumbbell at one end only and turning your hands clockwise, bending them up and down, etc. So Bruce Lee really improvised and thought of many different ways of training his forearms, as well as created new machines for himself. Now, besides training his forearms, actually Bruce Lee really enjoyed displaying the strength that he could get from not only his forearms but from his fingers, which he trained excessively using finger lifts and finger push-ups. At first he was able to train himself to a point where he could hold himself with just the index finger and the thumb on both hands, and eventually he actually would perform this with one hand only. It was incredible, the strength that he had in his fingers. Incredible, incredible feat of strength. Now here is a list of Bruce Lee's favorite forearm exercises, and before going this, I'd just like to stress one point. Bruce Lee was a martial artist and of course was devoted to forearm training for fighting purposes, but as a bodybuilder you may ask, why should I listen to a martial artist's recommendations? Well, it's very simple. Larry Scott puts it really well. He continuously developed his forearm strength and size because he understood that it was the one thing that connected his upper body, be it arms, shoulders, chest or back, to the weight. It's that simple. By continuously strengthening and building the size of your forearms, your upper body will grow because your forearms hold the weight. It's that simple, and it makes sense. So Bruce Lee, being a fanatic, would read all these magazines and books and realize that these exercises worked well for him. For example, a strongman favorite was wrist rolling, as shown here. He would actually use Bob Hoffman's isometric machine. He enjoyed doing finger push-ups, as mentioned earlier, where he'd start off with all fingers and slowly remove one, progressively removing one finger at a time to get stronger and stronger. He actually would like to do the reverse curl on the pulley machine because it provided constant tension. He would perform this exercise for 8 to 12 reps. The Bruce Lee gripping machine, as shown earlier, his own invention, he would use for 8 to 20 reps per set. He actually preferred the Zotman curl over the barbell or dumbbell biceps curl because it basically works the forearm way more than would the biceps and biceps curls such as the barbell and dumbbell curl. The Zotman curl is a very circular motion, and I've talked about this in previous videos. The barbell wrist curl and the reverse wrist curl, of course, targeting the forearms, was another favorite of Bruce Lee. The leverage bar, as shown previously, he would actually flex his wrists in a supinated or pronated fashion and also do counterclockwise and clockwise rotations with poundage loaded onto the leverage bar. As a supplement to finger push-ups for strengthening his fingers, he would actually do finger lifts. That is, he would try to do chin-ups and single arm deadlifts and all sorts of lifts just with his fingers alone. And another supplement for training his fingers was actually doing squeezing exercises, such as squeezing a tennis ball or crushing grippers in his hands. So he was a real fanatic. He trained them all day, basically every day. Can you believe that even in reading his material, I learned that Bruce Lee, while reading his books, would actually perform Zotman curls. He would be sitting there on his chair doing Zotman curls. That's how fanatical he was about forearm training. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video on forearm training by Bruce Lee, his favorite methods, and I hope you've learned something and that you can apply the exercises that he recommends. I'd like to leave you with a final story because there's so many Bruce Lee stories out there. They're great to share, and this one in particular is very applicable to forearms. This is a quote from Taki Kimura, one of his students, and he actually says, quote, "If you ever grabbed hold of Bruce's forearm, it was like grabbing hold of a baseball bat." That's how dense his forearm muscles were. It's incredible. He really did develop it into a weapon. And that was the whole point, I guess, for Bruce Lee being a martial artist. Hope you've enjoyed watching this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't to the Golden Era Bookworm. Thank you for watching and leave me your comments. If you'd like to support my work, you can donate via PayPal. Many people have already. Thank you very much. You can also become a patron on www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm. And you can also purchase courses from the Bronze and Silver era, the greats such as Reg Park, Eugene Sandow, etc., from my website, goldenerabookworm.wixsite.com/website. Hope you're enjoying the Bruce Lee series. This is the Golden Era Bookworm. Bye for now. Visit goldenerabookworm.wixsite.com/website for courses from the Bronze and Silver era of bodybuilding.